All good?
On this morning's show, the MLS will review the Luis Suárez spitting incident. Michigan State head coach Damon Rensing joins us live. Plus, me and Nate unveil the projected U.S. men's national team starting 11 for 2026. That and more coming up right now.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Well, good morning and happy Thursday. Jonathan Turner alongside Nate Wangler, our producer Ryan Glinsky. It is Inside the Game episode number 151. And that's right, we've done 150 previous episodes here on the National Soccer Network. I'm live in our Shelby Township studios. Nathan is live in Grand Rapids. We have a great show lined up for you this morning. Damon Rensing is going to join us, the head coach of the Michigan State Spartans men's soccer program, who just celebrated his 150th career win here earlier this week. He did so over a Detroit-based team called University of Detroit Mercy and the Titans. So we'll dive into that with him this morning. We'll talk about the U.S. men's national team. We've been talking about them quite a bit, almost every single day. Maybe we'll even ask Damon what his thoughts are about projected starting lineups for the 2026 World Cup. But we'll talk about that this morning. And there is some news in regards to Luis Suárez. We'll get into that as well. But first off, Mr. Nate Wengler, how was your night last night? I understand you had a nice little rain delay there in Grand Rapids.
Baseball is a wonderful sport, and it's also terrible at the same time for that reason alone. We can't play through the rain. We got to wait. If it's raining, if it's wet, if it's everything else along those lines. JT talked to me about this before we came on for the show today. There's this term that kids use. It's actually just a part of the vernacular, everyday vernacular now. It's called crashing out. And I was ready to crash out about what happened last night. But, hey, you know what? We got the game in. It is what it is. You started about an hour and a half late, so I didn't leave that place till about 11:30. So, hey, man, that's a part of the gig. So, final series of the regular season. They're just trying to get in their last few gates and then go into the playoffs. So, listen, it is what it is. I love the sport, but sometimes it can tend to drag a little bit. So that was last night. But, yeah, a lot of good stuff to touch on. Obviously, there's a ton of news around the U.S. men's national team right now. Luis Suárez, you said there's news. I'm interested to hear exactly what they're coming down to because it's a couple days afterwards. A little surprised that they haven't made any decision yet, unless they did this morning, unless they missed something.
We'll get into that for sure. Yesterday after the show, I mean, immediately following the show yesterday, I think to premise this and kind of set it up, on Sunday, we went out and bought a PS5 for the studio, and we did that because we want to start playing live games in this environment. And so yesterday I invited our producer, Ryan Glinsky, immediately following the show to partake in some FIFA. FC 25. They changed the name. I think that's terrible. But regardless,
didn't go well for you, JT.
FC 25 is what we played yesterday. You played as Fulham. Was it West Ham?
Fulham.
Yeah, Fulham, yeah.
For all the people at home, I randomized my team. He got to pick his team without randomize.
It's true. I did pick the Arsenal yesterday, and he picked Fulham. And the first game was good. I think that went down. It was 2-1. I think it was 2-1.
I think all of our games were like 4-3 or something.
No, it was 2-1. Then you slapped me 3-0, and then it was 2-1 victory again in your favor in the final. So he swept me yesterday 3 straight games. So Ryan will no longer be employed with us as of tomorrow.
He picked Arsenal and he played like arse.
But yeah, no, we had a blast. We're gonna try and do that on the air though here coming soon, so
the whole world can see me win.
The whole world can see him.
So that was
it,
right. So that was a practice round then. All right, gotcha. How about I'm your teammate, JT, and we try to take down Ryan together? How about that?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the whole like playing with a teammate, be pairing up, I guess, in the same match, I guess. That'd be kind of...
That's fair. I'm just trying to help you out here, man. I'm just trying to give you a leg up.
I just think I need to pick a better team.
Arsenal's a fine
team.
You just can't use
the team.
Right.
It's not user error.
I don't know if I'm not a big fan. To be fair, I am not so much of an Arsenal fan when it comes to Premier League. If my team has been typically Liverpool in the Premier League, I just but I don't know why you're laughing, man. They've won significantly over the years. I don't get it. What am I missing here?
Nothing. I just I've had two people that I've worked with in broadcasting. I've had arguments over the last couple of days because Liverpool beat Arsenal, and you're gonna make it a third argument. So
well, I mean, facts are facts, and they don't lie, and so it is what it is.
Yeah. After that second hockey game I did, I got simultaneously Adam Jackson, voice of CMU, Liverpool fan. Neil Rule, obviously, DCFC, OU, both of those guys are Liverpool fans. At the same time, those guys texted me, "Take that, Set Piece FC. Take that, Arsenal fan. You can't win anything." I'm like, "Thanks, guys. Awesome. You guys are awesome."
Well, again, it is what it is. I guess the only way to shut those people up is if they were to actually win some soccer games, which clearly yesterday they couldn't do yesterday either, even with me at the helm. So, I mean, it's like,
that's true.
Speaking of winners, we are going to have Damon Rensing join us here, the head coach of Michigan State and the Spartans, on the other side of this break. It's episode 151 on the National Soccer Network.
Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins MLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game. Jonathan Turner alongside Nate Wengler, Ryan Glinsky, our producer. And we are going to be joined here now live by head coach of the Michigan State Spartans, Damon Rensing. And Damon, first off, welcome to Inside the Game.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a blast. So first off, I would imagine on some level, being that you are a former MSU player yourself, and now you have this 150th career win. Walk us through that moment here on Monday and capturing that win.
Well, it was a tough 1-0 win. So first, you're just excited to get the win. I didn't even know I was going for 150 until about an hour before the game. That's kind of how us head coaches work. We just focus on the moment. But no, once it happened, to see the players' excitement, and anytime you see your team kind of rally around you, it's a fun feeling. And then, to be honest, just a huge flashback. I mean, this is my 30th preseason. I work in preseasons between being a player. I was a volunteer coach on the women's team in '97, and then came back in '99 for 10 years as an assistant, and now my 17th year as head coach. So I think you just get a flood of memories from a player, from an assistant, thinking about the players, thinking about all the staff that's worked for you. You're just really grateful to work at a university and a great athletic department like Michigan State, because you can't get 150 wins without the people that are around you, and that to me was huge.
A lot of coaches we talk to throughout the years have talked about how it's always about the players. I think I've rarely ever heard a coach in my history of talking to them saying, "Hey, I'm really excited for me. This is the team award," and things like that. I want to talk about that for a moment, because I think a lot of coaches have this mindset where, you do this every day. You lace up your shoes every day. You put in your clipboard. You do all the things you have to do to prepare for these moments, and you absolutely should get the credit for that. But you always put it back on the players. Why do coaches do that? So I'm not saying you should be selfish about it, but why not allow that moment also for yourself?
I don't know. To me, soccer is such a player's game. I mean, obviously coaches do a lot in preparation leading up to it. There's a little bit more maybe coaching involved in college soccer because of the substitution rules and how you can manipulate things a little bit more. But I had a great coach and mentor in Joe Baum. And, as a player, if we played poorly and didn't win, I didn't put a lot on Joe. And when we won as a team, I thought the player, we felt good about how we played. So as a player, I never really put a lot on the coach and never blamed him or gave him a lot of credit. So I kind of work in that same regard. And we've always, very similar to Coach Izzo in basketball, our best teams are our player-led teams, and this is a very good player-led team right now.
No, it's great. I think Nate's maybe muted. Nate, I don't know.
Sorry. There we go. I think we're good to go now. At that point, I think there's a lot of coaches at Michigan State who have been there for decades and decades. It's interesting you bring up Izzo, because I do professional baseball. I actually just got to talk to Jake Boss not that long ago, so the baseball coach at MSU. So I kind of feel like I'm on a Michigan State head coaches tour right now talking to you. We got to figure out a way to get Izzo on the show, JT, at some point. But that's a university that has maintained and retained a lot of their coaches for a long time at that program. And I think it's interesting when you talk about being in one place for as long as you have. It's just not something you see a whole lot. You don't see it a lot from players anymore. I mean, typically you'll see them go to a couple of different schools, but even with coaches at the same exact time, there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of movement. What is it that has kept you around at Michigan State for as long as you have, from being an assistant to being the head coach and now 150 wins under your belt? What is it about that community and that school that's kept you there for as long as you have?
Well, I think, I do love the community. It's a great university. My wife, Dawn, we refer to as the head coach of our family. I've got 2 kids. My one daughter is a sophomore at Michigan State. So we've just grown up, in East Lansing, and so that's been huge. I think, I could coach a lot of places probably. I could get the players to believe in maybe what I'm doing. I can sell some things for sure. I understand the game, but I think when you work at a place that you played at, I'm not selling anything. I believe in this place. I believe in this program. You've lived it, and I think that really motivates you to continue. And I just want to continue to see Michigan State soccer go to new heights. I mean, going to the Final Four in 2018 was a huge accomplishment for this program. And then for us to kind of try to work to get back towards that will be awesome.
The Big Ten is arguably one of the toughest soccer, conferences in the country. We can talk about, the Pac-12 and talk about the SEC, the ACC, the Big East. These are all tough conferences too, but you're talking about Indiana, who's been an unbelievable powerhouse over their history. You now have the likes of Michigan making their kind of way into it, right? With being now in the top 25. They've had a good run here the last couple of years. Staying competitive in this conference is probably one of the most challenging things you have to face as a head coach each and every season. What is the recipe for success at Michigan State to stay in that hunt and get yourself to a Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, no, it's amazing between the Big Ten and the ACC. When you add UCLA and Washington now to the Big Ten, that's a whole nother conversation probably. But when you add those teams and then the ACC, I think like 47 of the last 54 national championships have now come from those 2 conferences. So that just shows you the competition and the level. The thing that we've, which I'm extremely proud of, and one of our recruiting, mottos is, I'm not sure I could win a Big Ten or a national championship with just State of Michigan players, but I don't think we could do it without them being the core of our team. And so when we went to the Final Four, we had 7 starters from the state of Michigan. You look at our lineup now, we've got 6 or 7 guys starting from the state of Michigan. And this is one of our strongest teams we've had. So, and then you sprinkle in, obviously you've got to balance the transfer portal the right way. I mean, you've got to use that. But I think you can see teams overuse it and struggle. So I think when you have this much talent, you got to find good culture. You got to get old and stay old. I've been doing this for a long time. I say, 8 to 10 years ago, college soccer was a U20 league that had a couple 21 and 22-year-olds. I think now it's a U23 league that has a couple 19 and 20-year-olds when you look at the lineup. So I think it's changed that way. So you've kind of got to get old and stay old. We've with COVID and some of those things kind of in the 5th-year transfer portal starting to fade away, I think you're going to get back and seeing a little bit more of that. And I think that's where culture is going to be really important.
And this is I'm going to pass back to Nate here in a moment. I had a chance to hear Greg Campy here about 6 months ago. He was asked a question about the dynamic and how things have changed from when he first started coaching to today, and what he has changed as far as his non-negotiables. Right? When you first started coaching, even when you were a player, what were the non-negotiables? Well, those have absolutely changed because the athlete and what we have access to has changed. What are some of the non-negotiables you as a head coach still have in place today that would have been in place 20 years ago? And what are the things that maybe you've had to say, hey, you know what? I don't need to worry about that anymore. It's not worth it, right? Or it's not, I have bigger fish to fry.
I think the main stuff is just, respect your teammates, respect your opponents, respect the referees. The logo never comes off. You're always representing Michigan State, your family. I think those types of standards. I think the general level of just soccer play has gone up, so you have to hold a higher standard for the players, for the training sessions, for all of those things. I think for me, that people have used the term, it went from transformational to transactional. College athletics has kind of done that. I would push back a little bit on that. I think, though, I would, over these years, you assumed when you brought a player in that they were going to be with you for 4 years, and you looked after all 28 players. And I took it personally if somebody didn't make it through or not. And I think right now you just can't do that. There's different paths, and now a path is a transfer. And if a young player isn't playing and he thinks he can find something that fits him better, and you have that honest conversation with him and he can move on, then I guess you let him do that. So I still just try to focus on the guys that want to come in and help. If you come in and come all in to help Michigan State University soccer, then I think it'll pay dividends, and we'll be all in with you. And I think that's how you get it. You just can't take it too personally with all 28 players, because there are going to be some guys that are going to kind of move on.
And to that point, and this is something that I love talking about with coaches, because they understand it, intrinsically, just how much things have changed, not just from the recruiting perspective and the individual player perspective, because I think the athlete now is far different from what the athlete was even a couple of decades back. But looking at the transfer portal specifically, we just saw that video from, and I'm blanking on his name right now, NIU's head coach, talking about how the football head coach, talking about how the portal is kind of a challenge, and he likes the challenge. He doesn't really agree with it. He thinks that it certainly has become more transactional than what it was before. How have you been able to manage that challenge specifically? Because the landscape has completely changed when it comes to not only getting players to your program, but keeping them around. I know you kind of answered that in part with what you just said, but in terms of that specifically, getting players and keeping players, how have you guys been able to manage that as a coaching staff efficiently?
Well, I think communication is huge, much more nowadays than before. So you just don't want any surprises. I think if you have constant communication and meetings with players, and my staff does, then you kind of know maybe if a kid wants to move on, or thinks it's not quite working out here. I think the other piece to this is the transfer portal works so quickly. I mean, a kid goes on a portal, he could commit within 24, 48 hours, and you can make a lot of mistakes. I think where we felt we did a very good job this year, and you can overpay. There's not a lot of NIL and collectives. A lot of soccer players aren't getting paid above and beyond a full scholarship. But when you only have 10 scholarships for 28 players, though every dollar in that scholarship is important. And I think you can see a lot of programs panic and overpay. And I thought what we did a really good job this year was finding the right players that fit our program, that make us better. And Miles Merritt, who transferred from Incarnate Word, was definitely one of them. I think he's one of the top midfielders, in the Big Ten. We had Andrew Darashian transfer from Oakland, who unfortunately did his ACL last spring, but I think you'll see some really good play out of him in the future. So you can overstep. It sounds like, hey, this is awesome. We can go great, pick up some new guys, and they can mess your culture up too. So you've got to get the right guys, and you got to do it quick. And I think our staff has done a really good job with that.
Managing personalities is always so important, and I love hearing about that too, because I think that is an important part of scouting. I think we've gotten really far into the analytics and everything else along those lines as well, but personality and fit matters too, so that makes sense as to why you guys have been able to maintain a level of success. I just wanted to touch on this really quickly because you mentioned Michigan-based players, and Jonathan Turner and myself, we kind of have a unique perspective when it comes to that, not only because of his work at Oakland and UDM, but also what we do with the USL as well. I mean, you mentioned some of the Michigan-based players. Jonathan Stout is one that comes to my mind, playing in the USL. I get to call his name plenty this summer, but he played for you guys over at Michigan State. And I do think it is worth mentioning there is a talented crop of players in Michigan too. I think Detroit area has a great group. I think the West Side is getting better, so it's cool to see that you guys are still focusing on Michigan-based recruiting and really putting those guys on the forefront. Anybody from the Mitten State right now on your squad that is kind of catching your eye here early in the season that's impressed?
Yeah, there's a few for sure. I mean, obviously Zach Kelly, who's just from Holt, he's a returning first team All Big Ten senior captain. Luke Spadafora, who's a freshman, scored the game winner against Detroit, played down at Austin. That's one of the things. Michigan-based is the right way to use the term now. It used to just be in-state, but one of the things that we do now is track all of these young men that are all over the country. They're from Michigan, but they might be at Sporting Kansas City Academy or St. Louis City or Real Salt Lake. So we track those guys. Luke, followed Luke at Columbus Crew in Austin FC. So those are two of the Michigan guys. Jake Spatafor, his older brother's done great at right back. We've got, Will Eby and Josh Adamar are two center backs. So we really, it's a really good group of Michigan, and we got a good group coming in as well.
I as we talk about this Michigan based and we talk about the athlete, today, me growing up and playing soccer, just like for you, I'd imagine, getting recognized, having a college coach or a scout come to a game, you get a letter in the mail, and there was some slight buzz, but now with highlight videos and you can do Instagram and TikToks. I mean, there are so many ways for players to get exposure outside of, going to ID camps and the ECNL and the academy environments. What's the message to the player out there today who wants to come play at Michigan State or play for a Big Ten school or a Division I program about getting recognized? Because there's a lot of players out there that are going to get caught at some point in time in this massive bubble of everyone trying to set themselves apart, and it's going to be hard to do, especially with all the likes of all. So how do they get in front of you? How do they, wet your beak, so to speak, about, hey, might be a good player for our program?
Yeah, I think now more than ever, it's easy to get in front of us in some way. I think their goal is to get a coach from Michigan State to come out and see you play live. We've been here for 27 years, so we've got a vast network. We're connected with all the club coaches. So we have conversations with them. They can send us highlight videos. We're not going to offer anybody a full ride after a 3-minute highlight video. I would say make it good. I don't need to see the bad plays, on a highlight video, and put it to some decent music, because I watch about 2 hours. So I'm kind of a 80s 90s guy. So if they could put it to that, just as a request that's going out there. But anyway, no, I think it's to see you play live. I will say this: people ask me all the time. I mean, you break the game up into 4 areas. You've got the tactical, which is the decision making. You've got the technical, which is the skill level. You've got the physical, which is your raw athleticism, and then you've got the psychological, which is obviously the mental piece of the game. To play at this Division I level, you have to be exceptional, not good. You have to be exceptional at least one, and most likely more than those areas. Now, you don't have to be perfect at everything, but if you're not if you might have an exceptional athlete who maybe not quite as skillful, but he's a mentally tough kid, and you say, hey, I can work with this kid because he's athletic, he's good enough skill level, and this kid wants to learn, and I can work with that. Or you might have a kid who might not be that athletic, but he's an exceptional, skillful player, like the kid we had, Giuseppe Baroni, who was a semifinalist, like probably not the best athlete, but he was an exceptionally tactically decision maker. He was exceptional on the ball, and he was exceptional mentally as far as how he was with his teammates and things like that. So he checked 3 and was pretty decent athlete too. So I think those are the things, if you want to see you play live, you've got to do it. And we're going to do the body work. And honestly, at this day and age, we do find, I mean, people can slip through the cracks, but I will say we find a lot of the players. So wherever you're getting recruited is probably where the level is where you're at.
Oh, that's great. This is probably going to be the toughest question you're going to have to answer all day. Probably bar none.
DeJuan Jones should start for the U.S. national team. Yes, the U.S. DeJuan Jones should start. That's the answer.
You say Kobe Jones?
Nice.
DeJuan Jones.
Oh, DeJuan Jones. Oh, yes.
Former
DeJuan
MSU,
Jones.
yeah.
It's a funny story before we dive into this question. I actually refereed DeJuan Jones in the state championship game against Cranbrook in 2014. That game was an unbelievable game, by the way. So that's my one story about DeJuan Jones. But so here's my tough question. It is you're coming into town after a long road trip. Now you got to fly to the West Coast, right, and do a nice tour there. You're coming in, and you have a chance to go to a restaurant. You get off the plane. Where are you going?
In East Lansing?
Yeah. I mean, you're obviously close to home, right? So if it's East Lansing,
Raising Cane's?
Where are you going?
I have 2 that I like to go to. There's one's called the Sidebar, which is just a great little neighborhood restaurant. I highly recommend it. good friends, good people. That's, to me, it's all about who you're around and who you surround yourself with. So it's intimate. I'm not going to run into any students or student athletes. And then we go to the Buddies Pub and Grill on Lake Lansing. Those are my two go-tos where I can forget about soccer for a half day, maybe watch some mindless NFL when I get off the plane, and have great service, good food, and most importantly, good friends.
No, that's cool. So is Buddy's like the pizzeria, or is it completely, because we have Buddy's Pizza here too? So
Yeah, we do too. No, completely different. Just
Okay.
a neighborhood place.
Hey, can you guys share Raising Cane's, by the way? We need one out here in Grand Rapids or in Detroit or something. You guys are just hogging all the canes. I can't do this.
I don't know what the whole buzz is about this stuff. I mean, it's just 3 chicken
Really?
strips. You get a sandwich. It's just 3. Everything's with a chicken strip, and then it's like you want a couple pieces of bread, but make it a
They
sandwich.
give you a
Like,
little cup of coleslaw.
They're good. I don't know.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fries
I'm
are
like,
all right.
what-
I don't know.
No,
fan.
How about
it's
some-
okay. I had it for the first time in Minnesota here a couple years ago. It was just okay. It was nothing
I'm
about it was
obsessed.
like wow, It's
Positively
chicken
obsessed.
fingers, guys. I don't know it's not complicated.
The best.
So you're going to Sidecar. What do you eat there? Is there a specific item off the menu that you're like, I got to have?
No, not a ton there. They've got actually decent pizza at Sidebar, and then good burgers, and their nachos were really good. We always are kind of a good fan. Nachos, go there, pick and eat. Buddies has specials every day. So I always like to choose a special because it's always something different. So,
Nice.
So yeah.
Well, Damon, we appreciate you stopping on by here today. Obviously, 150th career win. You've been at the helm there for, obviously, you're in your 17th season now, as you've been there for 16 years. Your overall record, 150, 113, and 49 in those 16 years. You guys take on Bowling Green here tomorrow. I think that kickoff is at 7 p.m. here tomorrow night. So we wish you and Michigan State luck the rest of the way this season, and we'd love to have you on here in the future.
Really appreciate you having me, guys, and good luck with the show. And again, great time.
All right, thank you, Damon, very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Go Green.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Go
Go
Green.
White.
Now, for someone that grew up a Michigan fan, I'm going to respond to say, yes, you can go Green. It won't be coming from me, though.
I said go
I
white.
just had to get
I
that
said
in
go
there
white.
at the end.
I knew people that played there. I've been there. I've seen games. My old babysitter used to play basketball there once upon a time. So yeah, respect.
I'm not a diehard Michigan fan. I'm not a diehard really any fan except for me being a Lions fan. I'm a diehard Detroit Lions fan. That will never change. But I have worn green and white here in the past, so I can say that I have done that. So.
They say little brother, but like it's brother, so we're family.
Yeah, it's
little brother. But we're
I
still
mean,
in the same family.
I will
Exactly.
never, ever wear Central Michigan anything.
Oh, come on. Fire up. And it is on
all
Central
kidding
down the
aside.
field.
Come on now. Come on.
Coming up next year, we're going to talk about whether or not the MLS is going to take action or not. All that and more on episode 151 of Inside the Game.
Fire up.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Welcome back here. If you're just joining us here this morning, we just had a great conversation with Damon Rensing. Well, that will be available as a separate video on our channel here later this morning. But before we dive into the U.S. men's national team and our projections of who we think will start here in the 2026 World Cup, we are going to dive into whether or not the MLS is going to take any action. And this was announced here just about 2 hours before we went live here on the air. The committee is going to review Luis Suárez's spitting incident in the League Cup final. Again, there is the explanation of what took place here on Sunday, but they are going to review it now. That in itself doesn't mean a whole lot, Nate. But again, the fact that they're waiting until Thursday to actually make any type of an announcement about them even reviewing this, to be fair, is the biggest problem in all of this. But they are going to review it, and my guess is that something's going to happen as a result of the review.
I hate these corporate processes. I hate having to go through all these steps. Guys, you saw the video. I mean, it's funny when I saw the captions on a lot of these videos talking about the Luis Suarez situation after it happened. They all use the term allegedly. Well, he allegedly did this. He allegedly spit on someone. No, he spit on someone. I saw the video. It was right there in front of us. So, and by the way, this is just adding to a track record that he already has. And a lot of people have pointed that out. Biting people, obviously, you know, anytime you say something that is culturally insensitive, especially in a position like that as a professional to someone else, I mean, I'll just say it, racist, you know. I mean, all of those things add up to a place to where, okay, this is a track record now. And I understand, believe you me, I get it. I heard a story once about Caitlin Clark, okay, because I know people who work in the Big Ten as broadcasters. I know people who work in the Big Ten, just generally speaking. And they had a game against Caitlin Clark. I won't name names, but I remember hearing a story about how CC hit. It was a deep three. It was a big time part of the game, whatever. Turned around to the opposing team's bench and told the coach to sit down and shut up. All right. So, and a lot of people look at that and they're like, whoa, like that is like the definition of unsportsmanlike. But the truth is that, I don't know, if you're good enough to back that stuff up, you're good enough to back that stuff up. You know, like you're almost kind of given a longer leash. However, that is a lot different. Talking smack to someone is a lot different than spitting on someone, biting on someone, or saying something that is racist. Those are things, you know, if we're talking about strikes here, 1, 2, 3, he just struck out, right? So I don't understand why there's a lack of urgency to decide on this. He didn't allegedly do it. He did it. You've known he's done it. We've shown the videos. Everyone's talked about it. It's right in front of you. I know you have your processes you have to go through. I understand that there's checks and balances when it comes to this. But the fact that we are days separated from this happening and Major League Soccer has not made a decision on what should happen to Luis Suarez is a little discouraging to me. And it shows me that there's a lot of consideration going on as to what should we do with the superstar. Because imagine if this wasn't Luis Suarez for a second. You said this yesterday. What if this was just a random player from Colorado or a random player from the San Jose Earthquakes or another one of those teams in Major League Soccer who's not really in the picture or doesn't really have a bona fide superstar? Would there be as much deliberation on something like this? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. But the MLS is running into an issue right now, and that's one of our superstars just did something really stupid, and it lines up with his history, and we might be in a position to where we may have to tell him he can't play anymore. And that hurts the brand. It hurts probably Major League Soccer in the long run. So I understand the processes that they have to go through. But it just seems pretty cut and dry to me. I hate playing the political game. It seems right down the middle what should happen and what he did do. This is no allegedly, guys. It happened right in front of us. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous in my mind that it's taking this long to decide on something like this. Because, again, it's not just that one isolated moment. I do think that would change the story completely if it was just that isolated moment. I think we could look at it for what it is. Hey, that was a dumb choice. And if Luis Suarez came out and went, hey, that was stupid, that's one thing. But it's not isolated. So we know where this should go.
Yeah, obviously I share the same sentiments. We talked about it obviously throughout the week. And I do share the sentiment that, you know, Luis Suarez should be suspended. He should be banned. We've talked about this again quite a bit. I don't know if an isolated incident, obviously from the standpoint of punishment, consequences, absolutely. I just don't know if we can ever sit here and say or make an acknowledgement that spitting at a player, isolated or not, is something that shouldn't be dealt with, right? And again,
No.
regardless
Yeah,
of
and that's
someone's
not what I'm
background.
arguing for.
No, I know what
whatever
you're
it's
saying.
worth.
I know what you're saying is that he has a history, and with his history comes a lot of baggage, and that baggage is what will be helping determine, whether or not this punishment will be worse or not based on his history. And I'm just saying that I don't understand why this isn't even spitting is in the book, by the way. Spitting at an opponent, spitting at a referee, spitting is considered a form of violent conduct. It is not a soccer action. And so when you look at the laws of the game, spitting is not part of the game. Now, we're saying you spit and you hit the ground and someone walks into it, that's completely different. This wasn't that, right? And not to mention, he started like a whole fight. This whole thing came as a result of this interaction. Everyone's fighting in this scenario. And so I think there's a spitting component to this, and there's another component to this, which is, fighting that would have to be looked at. But again, when it comes to Suarez, he has this history. And just like in any situation, if you were in front of a judge, when it comes to sentencing, this is your third time, Mr. Whoever, you're going to have to pay a higher penalty because of that. How many Major League Baseball players have been banned for life because they had 3 opportunities with the, substance abuse programs or with this, that, or the other? They can't play baseball ever again, right? And so we have that in football, right? Your first offense is this. Your second offense is that, right? The third offense, you're done. You're gone, right? I mean, California had the 3-strike rule, right? Your third strike, you were in prison the rest of your life. I mean, I know that all these leagues are different and all these different World Cup environments, all that kind of stuff. But and I do think that FIFA has to take a stance on this as well, because when you get red card in an international game, it doesn't impact your domestic games, right? Which you get a red card in a tournament. Well, that doesn't go back and affect your league. I don't know why it doesn't. I don't know why your next game that you play isn't your suspension. I don't know why it has to be differentiated between league and team and country and all this other stuff. Why is it even have to be separated? If you get a red card, your next game. So if you're dumb in the semifinal of whatever stupid game you're playing in, and then you have your league final the next day, you should not be able to play in that league final. I mean, and people say, well, that's terrible take. No, I mean, that's the punishment. Again, especially certain punishments. When you start talking about a violent conduct, again, throwing a player down into the advertisement board is not a part of soccer. Now, a slide tackle is. Getting a red card for serious foul play, meaning that you are attempting to play the ball and it didn't go well. Right, we talked about this VAR moment here this weekend, right, where a goal was taken away because a player did a move. Ryan did a video on it on YouTube, on TikTok, and a player did a move, and that move stepped on a player's foot, and they brought that back because they said they actually explained it. Actually, it was kind of cool. I actually watched the VAR video explanation, and they explained that because the player was no longer able to defend after that move, that's why they brought it back. It's a soccer move. The player did a spin and caught the top foot of a player, and then ultimately they brought the goal back. They were originally looking at for offside, and it was a whole other thing. It's a soccer move. Had he came in and did a karate chop like in the Replacements, after the blowing the whistle, I mean, that's not a soccer move, so it's violent conduct. So those moments have to be looked at differently. And we live in a world today where everyone has a camera, everyone has access to technology, and you can't allow this to happen. And if you're a player who's watching Miami because of Messi, and you're watching this, right? You're watching this game, and you watch the conclusion of this game, and the conclusion of the game is you see there's 300,000 people watching, and they're all kids, and they're seeing a player spit in the face of an adult, like 2 adults spitting at each other on the after post of a game, or just one spitting on somebody, right? And then they hear the consequences as a one game. So, okay, well, that's not that bad. That's not that bad.
Well, here's the truth.
The suspension has to be. It has to be warranted. It has to be a much higher level of suspension than what you would normally give. And again, we said if they ban him the rest of the year, that'd be great. I think he should be banned the rest of his career in the MLS, but that's a whole other conversation. I would take the rest of the year as at the minimum, and that would set the tone and draw the line in the sand that you cannot spit at another player or a coach or someone from the team or whatever you want to call it. And that's a consequence that you need to show not just the players in the league, but the fans and these young athletes who are watching this and saying, what the hell?
He's not getting banned for the rest of the year. You guys all know that, right? He's not getting banned. So I searched up his punishments for his biting incidents. He only received a 10-match suspension in the Premier League when he bit Ivanovic, and then he received a 4-month ban after biting Chiellini in the world's biggest stage. Here's what's going to happen. He's just going to get banned for – he's going to be suspended for 3 to 4 games. That's literally what this is going to be, and he might not play again in the League Cup. That's what's going to happen.
Can we put some money on this?
Money on what?
Let's put some money on this. Who here – okay, so you think 3 to 4 games?
Yeah.
Okay, Nate, what do you think?
I was actually kind of interested to hear what the rest of what he was going to say. So you're thinking 3 to 4 games, Ryan? What did you have a second part to that?
I was going to say 3 to 4. He had more severe incidents on biting someone, like actually trying to harm someone. Like that's completely different than just spitting.
Yeah.
He didn't harm anyone. He didn't throw any punches. And that suspension was 10 games for actually harming someone, and then a 4-month on the big, and that was on the biggest stage. This is the MLS. It's going to be 3 to 4 games. It's not going to be anything severe. He might not play again in the League Cup. That might be the most severe punishment, but he's not going to get banned from anything the rest of the way because he's done way worse things, and he hasn't been banned for life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll agree. I mean, I agree with what Ryan is asserting for whatever it's worth, JT. Here's my fear. My fear is that it's just going to get worse because we saw actually Tim Howard talk about this on X yesterday, and I thought it was an interesting post. He goes, I'm surprised that no one's decided themselves to just take care of this guy after doing stuff like this. Again, I don't condone fighting. I didn't say that, the other day. I don't condone it. I know it builds intrigue. I know drama is something that the American audience loves. There's a reason why we love reality TV as much as we do. Even if it's crappy reality TV, we still love it. And that feels like that's what we have in Major League Soccer right now. But my biggest fear is that this is just going to get worse for everybody. Because I think what Tim Howard said resonated with me because I'm like, yeah, I'm surprised no one's taking care of this. I mean, I understand no one wants to get suspended. No one wants to take it on the chin to take care of the situation. But that's my fear is that we may be heading that direction. But I agree with Ryan. That's what I said the other day, that I don't think that they're going to ban him. I don't think that that's something they're going to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they are either. I think they might even come away with 1-game suspension. To be fair, we might see no suspension because they're going to hide behind this League Cup thing. If they do anything, they're going to say next year in the League Cup, he can't play for the 3 games. That's what's going to end up happening. They're going to say they're going to pass this off to the tournament. Well, it wasn't because we saw that with some of the other stuff that was happening with the League Cups, with suspension. So, I don't think that we're going to see MLS suspend him at all. I think if we're going to see a suspension, we're going to see it come from a League Cup thing in the future, which whatever. But I do think it's important to say this, and Ryan, I agree with you that he has done in the whole scheme of things, biting versus spitting. But when we talk about it from the standpoint of the action itself, I don't know if spitting at a player, first of all, in the rule book, spitting or punching is the same thing. They are equally the same in the rule book. The punishment is what I'm saying by that is that if I take a swing at somebody, or I spit at them, or I attempt to hit someone, or I attempt to spit at somebody, those things are treated the same in the book. They're treated the same. And so the fact that you are attempting to do something, the fact that you are doing it, it is treated and it all falls under violent conduct. And so, again, now whether the league will look at it and say, well, spitting versus biting versus throwing a punch, those are all things we'll look at and evaluate. But in the rule book, as a referee on the field, if the referee is seeing this in real time and he sees someone spitting at somebody, punching at somebody, they are all treated the same. Red card, red card, red card. Right? So I think it's important to make that delineation.
Mike's muted, my man. Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Hey, turn your mic on.
Oh, my bad. In the grand scheme of things, he's only getting Tim Weah. I just did some research on him. He had a 2-match suspension for punching that dude in the Copa America. Suarez ain't getting anything. 3 matches tops, and he can't play in the League Cup again. Like that's max what's going to happen.
Again, I don't think
Nothing's
they're
really going to happen.
I don't think they're going to suspend him at all in the MLS. I think he's going to skate free. I think he's like he'll get a League Cup, whatever you want to call it. That's what I think is going to happen. So, but anyways, we have to dive into the U.S. men's national team conversation, and when we come back here from our break, we will dive into what Nate and I consider to be the projected starting 11 here for the 2026 World Cup. So don't go anywhere. We have a great discussion coming your way.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game, episode 151. And Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky, I'm Jonathan Turner, and we're going to dive here in a moment into the U.S. men's national team and who we believe will be in the starting 11 here come June of 2026. And Nate, before we dive into this, we did these kind of like all-time teams here last week, dove into that for both men's and women's. And you actually had a number of players on the ultimate team who are currently in the U.S. men's national team outside of what we consider the obvious in Christian Pulisic. And so, thinking about that, when you were going through this process of figuring out who you thought would be on this team, was that part of that process as well, looking at what you did last week as well? Because I'd imagine if a player is on that roster, they're starting here, right? And this roster based on what we talk about here this morning.
The various amount of projected starting 11s for the U.S. men's national team is enough to confuse even the most seasoned of soccer people. And I don't consider myself one. I never have considered myself one. But if you look at any projected starting 11 anywhere, social media, news, whatever it may be, everybody has a different opinion on who deserves to be in that group. And again, that speaks to the place that we're at right now, which is there is a level of confusion. I mean, Ryan, you said it the other day on social media. I don't think we should be hitting the panic button right now, but I do think there is room to be that way because we don't know who our 11 is, because there are options. Like we have a lot of different players that do a lot of different things well, and they're all kind of right on the same trajectory in terms of, maybe what their overall NFC 25 is, but just generally speaking, how they're performing right now. And so that's why we just don't know who our 11 is. So my mind changes with the win, much like I think a lot of other people who see new stuff happen every week, and that changes certain things. Now, there are, I look at that 11, and I must feel what Mauricio Pochettino feels, because I look at that 11, and then I go how can I not have Josh Sargent in there? Oh, okay. Well, how can I not have Joe Scally in there? How can I put, so it changes all the time. But again, this all goes back to, I think everybody has a different idea of who the 11 is going to be. I don't think there's one given right answer in this situation. So, yeah, it changes.
Yeah, no,
with the
absolutely
win,
not.
Much like anything else.
I agree with that. Again, I think that these are obviously based on our opinions about, and this is based on what we're right now. If you're going to sit here and tell me what I'm looking at right now, and that's how I looked at this project. I looked at this, if I'm projecting anything, it is based off what I know right now. Right. And I know that in 26 and in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, a player on this roster that we put out here today could absolutely not be on the roster because They could be hurt. I mean, so I think this exercise is great because it starts that conversation for us, at least here on the network. So we are going to start with me, and we'll dive into Nate's. But my projected starting 11 here for the 2026, and here they are. So in goal for me, Matt Turner. And the reason why, I liked what I saw from Matt Freese here in the Gold Cup, but I like Matt Turner because at least he's been there before. And right now, if you're asking me, who's the goalkeeper today, I would go with Matt Turner based on that and that alone. Okay. And so I think that's an important thing. My back line would Sergino Dest, Chris Richards, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and Anthony Robinson, right? Those are my four.
Probably because he beat you in FIFA yesterday.
Oh my God. Seriously.
There
in the
goes,
midfield
bringing it up
for me,
again.
It would be Tim Weah, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Christian Pulisic. That would be my midfield. Now, granted, my lineup here, by the way, would be a 4-4-2 as of today. Up top, Valerian Balogun, and then Josh Sargent, based off of what's happening right now in and around the world of soccer. And so that's my team. And now, granted, you can say, well, about Reyna. Well, yes, you could absolutely slide a Reyna in there. You could absolutely slide in a number of players into that role. And we're going to talk about that because me and you have some differences in how we would actually do this. There's Mark McKenzie, right? There's Miles Robinson. That's another player you could probably slap in there. Malik Tillman, right? So there's a number of players. Brendan Aronson, right? So I think that's another player you could slap in there as well, or slot into those into that 11. But that's who I would project as of today, who would start right now if the World Cup started today.
I like the idea of having two guys up front, Sargent and Balogun. I was actually kind of going back and forth about that because I know in my 11 I didn't have Sargent starting in it, which I think is probably not. I mean, with the start that he's had in Europe this year, I think he's kind of flipped a switch. So I definitely think Sargent deserves a starting spot. So if anything, like I said, it's kind of a rough draft. I think that's a first draft. I think I might have to revise a few things, but there are reasons as to why I have certain players in certain spots. But, I definitely see that with having those two up front there. I 100% agree with that. But yeah, certain other players I would definitely plug in there.
We'll take a look now at what Nate has to say about who he projects to be in the 11 here for the World Cup.
Yeah, so starting off in goal, I have to see something from Matt Turner this year in order to really feel confident about him being our guy going into 2026. I get it. He was there in 2022. I thought he did a great job. Obviously, he was a big part of us getting that clean sheet and that tie against England in the World Cup. And Matt Turner has a track record. I agree. But the only player that I've seen anything out of in a red, white, and blue uniform this year has been Matt Freese. And I thought he did a terrific job in the Gold Cup. And I realized we weren't playing top-end talent, but what he did in that PK, what he's done so far in MLS this year, there's a lot to love about Matt Freese. I just like his attitude, too. I just like the way he carries himself. I mean, maybe that's kind of oversimplifying things, but I just love the way he goes about his business. Dest Richards, Mark McKenzie in there. Now, again, you could have gone a couple of different ways. I think Joe Scally probably is someone else that's in that conversation. Surprised he didn't get the call up, but I think McKenzie's proven that he could be productive along that back line. Obviously, Anthony Robinson. You were asking who the second best player on this team is outside of Christian Pulisic. I think it has to be Jedi. I mean, he's one of the best wing backs in that's what I'm saying. I mean, the dude can get forward. He can be like miraculous. The ball's on that he puts. Yeah, and you can beat JT with him too. That too. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie. I think a motivated Weston McKennie is someone that you have to have in your starting 11. Malik Tillman, that's the interesting one. So I know that you obviously did not have him in your starting 11. If there were two players that I was most impressed with in that Gold Cup go, it was number one, Chris Richards, who's looked outstanding on the defensive side to begin his European career, but also Malik Tillman. And not just the fact that he scored a goal in his Bundesliga debut. I just think the work that he put in and the way he was able to stretch the field and do what he did in the Gold Cup, I've seen a lot out of Malik Tillman to believe that in terms of youthfulness, that's someone that I would love to have in that roster. I wouldn't mind shaking it up a little bit and having Tillman on the pitch because he's been a dog lately. Tim Weah in there, Christian Pulisic, and then obviously Florin Balogun at the striker position. So I only have three up top there. But listen, the biggest thing for me is, again, this can all change when you get a week down the line, and we're talking on this show next Wednesday. All of this could be completely different, depending on who we see on the field, depending on who we see play. Now, I know, did Tillman get a call-up? Tillman's not on the team right now, is he?
I don't believe so.
No, I
yeah.
think he's
So,
actually,
I mean, there's a concern there. You know, will we actually get to?
No. I thought he was a little hurt. No,
No,
okay.
it may
He's
just
playing,
because he
yeah.
just moved to a new team and everything.
Yeah, that's what it was. I know it was either an
Yeah.
injury or it was a move.
Christian Aldon
So,
got
I
added,
mean-
though.
Oh, dude, I just heard that billionaire designer Giorgio Armani just passed away. I don't know if anyone here uses, wears Giorgio Armani at all, or
No.
I just came across my phone. I just figured I would share that. Breaking news: Giorgio
Cool.
Armani is no longer with us.
I don't know who that is.
Sorry. I mean to laugh. I just the way your face.
Yeah, I don't use any Armani stuff. So
You don't use any
know,
Armani stuff?
No.
No, I don't
No,
either.
who do you
so
think
thought
I
just-
am?
I don't know.
No, hell no.
Oh man. Well, okay. So
Make stuff that's
understandably,
affordable for regular people.
Jeez, oh Pete. Understandably.
Anyways, go ahead.
Understandably, I get your perspective on this. And again, if you're goalkeeping is one of those positions. This is me as a former goalkeeper. I can say this. Is that in order to anchor that back line, experience is really important. And so I don't think there's a substitute for World Cup experience. And so for me, Matt Turner has it, right? And yes, did Matt Freese have a good summer? Yeah, I think he showed well. And do I think he has promise? And do I think that maybe he might be the future goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team? Absolutely. Does he have a chance to win it outright? Absolutely. But if you're asking me today, based off of what Matt Turner did in previous World Cups, I would say he's the guy right now. It's his job to lose. Okay, it's not his job to win. It's his job to lose. And so what that means is that when he goes out and plays, he has to be the best version of himself, right? And keep his role. Matt Freese has to keep doing what he does. It's no different than every year when you see a quarterback in the NFL who's going their 11th year and there's a new rookie coming up. That rookie's trying to get that job.
Anything with Aaron Rodgers? Anything with the Packers?
Thank you. Yeah, see, there you go. I mean, so the perspective of that is that it's his job to lose. So, hey, if he goes out there and he shits the bed, then it's going to be Matt Freese who can come in. And then obviously we have other goalkeepers that could come in as well. But my take on that is pretty simple. But again, I also understand why there's this love, for Matt Freese. I also think the fact that we look back at the history of Matt Turner and how he came about and how he started his career and how you have this highlight of him, letting this 50-yard shot going off a crossbar, and he kind of, the way it went in. I mean, it's not a good look for him. But that's the reason why we do these things, is to have some fun with it. So, your formation, I believe, what you sent to me was a 4-2-3-1. So I believe Balogun would have been up top as a striker.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have had, three across in the midfield. Again, you can call 4-5-1, 4-2-3-1, two holding midfielders, three midfielders across, and then a lone striker in Balogun. So I would have had a 4-4-2. Again, interchangeable, in a 4-3-3. You can do a lot of different things with those formations. But either one would work, I think, in this environment. But, hey, we'll post this on our website and all of our social media here later today as well. We are going to dive in now to Question of the Day, and this is the favorite moment of the show for Ryan Glinsky.
100% my favorite part. Waiting all day for that. But before we get into question of the day, Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at NSN. Make sure you use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off your order. Also visit saltathletic.com or scan that QR code today. A little bit of a American football question when this is kind of thrown around, but the question of the day: who is the 12th man for the U.S. men's national team?
We'll go to you there, Mr. Nate.
I'm sorry, what was the question again? Who was the what? Best player?
Who is the 12th man for the U.S. men's national team? Yeah, I was spamming the horn there. I've been waiting all day for it. All
right, 12th man for the U.S. men's national team. I'm going to go with a wild card here, guys. How about Diego Luna? I think Diego Luna definitely deserves a conversation in terms of being the first man off the bench. I mean, if we have both Sargent and Balogun on the field at the same time, which I do agree that's probably the better choice versus having just one striker up top and Balogun. I think it would be nice to actually have both of those two because I think they're playing well right now. Luna's a midfielder, so he added a lot of spark to that Gold Cup team. Like when we had nobody else to really talk about on that Gold Cup roster and everything that was going on there, and everybody kept talking about how every win was Mickey Mouse. All right, well, you beat Costa Rica, you beat this team, whatever, doesn't make a difference in the world. You beat Guatemala, doesn't. But the one player that gave that team spark, he gave them energy, he gave them fight, was Diego Luna, and I think those things matter. I mean, that image of him bleeding out of his nose with whatever it was, tissue or whatever that was stuffed up in there because he wanted to continue playing is something that just sticks in my mind. That's a kid that I want on my team. That's someone that I want to plug in big situations. That might not be the popular answer. I'm sure there are much more popular answers in terms of who should be the first one off the bench. I like Diego Luna in that spot.
No, I think it's a great point. I think it's honorable too, right? I think that we should probably also ask a question like a dark horse, like who would be, like a wild card. That's another good question too, right? Because I think Diego Luna could also fit into that. But from a pure technical, tactical, we heard Damon Rensing talk about these four traits that players need to have, right? The tactical, the technical, the physical, the mental, right? He mentioned that here earlier, and you have to be exceptional at least one of those things to make it into a Division I Big Ten college, right? For me, if we're talking about going from keeping the level of play the same and not missing a beat, if I'm thinking about taking a player off, if we're talking about removing a player, I'm thinking it's Balogun or it's Sargent based on how they play. Because, again, they're going to be winded in the 80th minute of a game. And how do you bring a player in who could ultimately continue to keep that level where it's at and also provide pressure and also create opportunity? And for me, that's Brendan Aronson.
Oh.
That's who it is for me.
That's what I was going to say.
So that's who it is for me, right? And again, because he draws fouls, he creates havoc, he high presses, he's like a high energy motorboat out there, right? And that's what we need. Don't laugh at Ryan over here. It's just, oh boy. Anyways, he is all laughing.
You laughing? What's going on over there?
The Energizer Bunny that is what you want, right? And that's what you get from a Brendan Aronson. And so for me, that's who it would be. Obviously, there's you could have an argument for a number of players that come in off the bench, but I think that Brendan Aronson's that guy.
Yeah. So what I would do is, so I would have, I really like Pulisic in the middle. I really like him playing as a 10 role. So I would put Pulisic in the 10, and I'd play a 4-2-3-1-2 because we're not good enough to play 4-3-3 against top teams, and we need a little bit more defensive cover. And I would have Tillman Weah out wide on the left, and then whoever's not performing or whatever, I would substitute those guys out, push Pulisic out wide, and I'd put Aronson right in the middle. He's battled relegation and promotion. He's been battle tested. He's played overseas for a ton of time, and he fights for a spot. And if you look at this Leeds team, I know they're not great in the Premier League, but it's still a Premier League team, and he comes off the bench for Leeds as it is anyway, so he understands that role. And I would absolutely have Brendan Aronson as that energizer guy.
You're not going to say the energy motorboat? You're not going to say
not the energy motor.
Oh boy.
My. Oh my.
What's that? We're live? Oh no. We're live. Hot mic. All right, pack it up.
That was great. Well, that
JT
wraps up our
considers
show
himself a
here
man of faith.
on this Thursday. I don't know why it's so funny though. I mean, I
didn't expect it.
Oh man, we still a great show. We had a great guest in Damon Rensing here this morning. We also talked obviously about the Luis Suárez spitting scene around the world, and maybe what the MLS may or may not do, which I think are all on the same page. It might be close to nothing or nothing. And obviously talking about the U.S. men's national team and their projected starting 11s here for the 2026 World Cup. Tomorrow I'll be back at this here on the Inside the Game, episode 152 coming your way. We will Obviously, I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow yet, but we'll figure that part out here sometime today. but yeah, we're excited about the direction of the show. We're excited. We've got a lot of great guests getting lined up here. If you'd like to hear from Damon Rensing, we have other coaches coming your way here from not only in the Big Ten, but also the ACC, the Big East. We're working on a number of schools as well as professional coaches as well to come and join us. So that will hopefully be coming here in the next couple weeks. But for Nate Wengler and Ryan Glinsky, I'm Jonathan Turner. You've been watching episode 151 of Inside the Game. Be back at it here, same time, same place, tomorrow morning on the National Soccer Network. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wengler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.